Having spent a good deal of time looking up Moody genealogy, I discovered, as most people try to discover their roots, anticipate finding royalty or some connection to royalty or some treasured piece of history to connect to. In my research, I did discover that there are two Moody coats of arms. One refers to an Edmund Moody, who you may or may not have learned about through the TV series Tudors. But when Henry VIII was younger, he was a prince, and Edmund Moody served as a footman. And one season of hunting by using a falcon, or they called it falconing, Henry was out and Edmund was with him. At one point, Henry decided he needed to breach a brook, or they called it a stream. He decided he needed to pole vault over the stream, and apparently he was a little more portly than he thought he was, or he was just really crappy at picking the poles. So as he ran and stuck the pole in the brook and attempted to make his leap, the pole broke and his fatness plunged headlong into the far bank. And apparently it was a muddy bank because he went headlong and his hands couldn't stop him at the bankment. He went elbow deep. So unable to extricate himself, he was going to suffocate unless somebody did something. Apparently, Edmund, being courageous and at least more astute than his fellow servants of the prince, leaped in and pulled his prince, saving his prince's life, out of the mud. And for that, Edmund Moody became Sir Edmund Moody and was given a coat of arms, land, title. And the coat of arms is described as in heraldry. The shield had a bar at the top and a chevron in the middle, running from left to right, point up. And around the chevron were three figures. I think they were clubs, as in the suit of cards from cards. The shield was black and white. The outstanding portions, the bar, the chevron, and the clubs were black. There was a wolf's head at the top. There was, what do they call it? The furling around the side where it was called filigree. And that was all very artistically, tastefully done. In the bar, there was two hands, one extending from each end of the bar, and a rose, a single rose in the middle. Now, I'm assuming the rose was for Henry VIII, being the Tudor. And the bar at the top, according to heraldry, says that Edmund was a chieftain. The chevron means military man. Well, obviously, if you're a knight, you have men. And that was kind of an indicator. The three clubs implies, according to heraldry, Edmund was the third son of three sons. And that's kind of an interesting story. The image can be found online, not like you can go and buy it or something, but if you wanted to look it up, it's available. And that was Edmund Moody. There was another Moody who was given the award of the heraldry symbols, shield, and it was green on white, and it too had a bar at the top of the shield and a chevron below the bar, point upwards, and three birds. And I'm not sure what the birds stand for in heraldry, but the chevron again is the military, and the bar means chieftain. This Moody received his award for helping to rescue Bonnie Prince Charlie. As some of you may know, Bonnie Prince Charlie was a Scot, and the Scots decided that they wanted an uprising, and it was referred to as the Jacobite, or what did they call it in Scotland? Jacobite. They called it a Jacobite instead of Jacobite. But the uprising was to restore a Catholic to the throne of England. And for rescuing Bonnie Prince Charlie, Moody and a couple of other associates, were also given coat of arms. I don't know if they were given land and title, because shortly after Bonnie Prince Charlie was escorted out of Scotland and to Europe, the landmass, the Scots were defeated and crushed soundly, and were forbidden to ever wear the kilts again, and bagpipes were forbidden, and a lot of the Scottish lords were summarily rounded up and imprisoned, and spent most of the rest of their lives in shame and punishment for their uprising against the King of England, which apparently was not Roman Catholic or Catholic at all. So there you go. There's a couple of stories about the Moody's, and any possessions or lands, you can kind of skip that because you have to prove it, and it's expensive. So skip that part and just accept the fact that you do have some recognized names in the Moody clan. Something else about the Moody name is that in my studies, Moody comes from the Saxon word maud, and the translation is mind or intellect, and that may or may not be anything of importance to anyone else, but to the Moody's, we kind of take a little pride in being a little more than the average thinker. The stories around being associated with Moody's is that you have our undying loyalty. In stories of the past, it says that Moody would rescue or come and fight for anyone who was right, especially if they were the underdog, even to the point of hanging beside the person, if the person was right and just in what they were doing. So there are Moody's throughout the colonies, many of which served for the revolutions. And one, James Moody, famous of New Jersey, was a loyalist to the crown, was captured, I don't know, probably 15 times by the rebels, and would have been hung or killed, but he was intelligent enough to be able to make his escape. He finally escaped at one point and fled back to England, where he spent the rest of his life, not lamenting that he was loyal to the crown, but lamenting that he lost his farm, his family, his all of his wealth was just gone. The rebels did not appreciate that, James Moody for sure. Another story I'll get to in a minute.